Hey everyone, Patrick here from Purposeful Armament, and welcome back to another PA Concepts video. Now, I'm going to be honest, did not expect to have a PA Concepts video out this week, but I decided that there are some big updates and some things that I want to chat about a little bit, so let's get into it. So first of all, this week has been really busy as we prepared for a shooting event that we actually hosted down in Tennessee today, Friday, the 28th. The date's not really going to matter that much, but for a very long time, Purposeful Armament has been very interested in hosting a shooting competition. Now, while this event wasn't necessarily a shooting competition, it was our first experience with trying to host an event, and it went very, very well. With that being said, we've been doing a lot of thinking and discussing about what we want our competition to look like and how we want it to feel. So I'm going to chat about that for a little bit, hopefully before it gets too dark. So I've done a handful of pistol competitions. I'm not sure what the acronym is, IDPA, PSL, USPSA, whatever. You get it. It's all that very high speed pistol shooting, and that kind of stuff is really fun. And I'm not saying it's bad, but you know how Call of Duty has like all this new crazy movement, and like there's a lot of kids who are cracked out or like dash around real fast and you can't really see what's going on. That's almost kind of like how USPSA feels, those kind of events. It's not spray and pray, but it's really, really, really fast shooting and a really condensed like burst of shooting. And it's fun in a lot of ways, but we really want to have our shooting event be something more practical. Now, you can argue those sort of pistol competitions have practicality, whatever, sure, but when we say practical, we mean more practical. I mean, just go to one of those shooting events, you'll see people with these little tiny holsters that almost look like gun locks that you see at the gun store. And they're doing all these like race holsters, and they've got these super light, like 1 pound triggers on these crazy 2011s that are super particular about ammo, and they're running things like Supervel, which is basically like cowboy loads for 9mm. It's very soft shooting, and they do all these little tricks to try and, you know, eke out that little advantage. And that's great, and that's all well and good, but a lot of that stuff isn't practical. If you were actually going into a situation where you were going to have to use your gun in a defensive manner, you're probably not going to have a belt that has a big fat magnet on it that you're slapping a magazine to. I mean, let's just be honest. So what we really want to do is more of a brutality or tactical game sort of event. We want it to be a practical shooting event. We want you to be pushed to your limits of what you can actually do. So you can look up brutality, you can look up tactical games. We're going to modify them a little bit, not the scoring system, but what you actually do in the event. So in the tactical games, I believe that you have to run a plate carrier that's like at least 15 pounds if you're a guy, or 12 pounds if you're a girl. I'm not super into that. I would rather you be able to set up your kit and your gear exactly how you want it to perform a given task. Whether that task is moving something heavy or dragging something heavy, or shooting around barricades, or doing long range or close up, whatever it is, I don't really care. I want you to design your kit and your gear around that explicit event. So that's kind of what we're going for. The score is going to very much be probably time plus. So if you miss or you mess up or whatever, you get penalties. It's just varying levels of time. I think that that's ample for what it is that we're trying to do. The score is something that I want people to be able to use to compare against other people and see how they did, but also to compare against yourself. You know, see if maybe, hey, what if I run a plate carrier? What if I run a chest rig? How much does that extra weight really slow me down? Maybe I want to run a 223 rifle or versus, you know, an AR-10, some sort of 308 or 30 cal. Those are the kind of things that we really want to explore. So I want you to be competing against yourself and your friends, and Time Plus is just a really easy way to score it. It's very simple and it's very clear on what you need to do. Now, with all that being said, we haven't really nailed out like divisions or anything like that, but like I said, in the effort of practicality, you know, the mag carriers that are just big magnets, it's going to be a no-go. Holsters, no race holsters. You can use a passive retention holster if you so choose, but again, like I said, it's about practicality. Not all of what Brutality does is what we're going to do either. If you watch Finish Brutality, there was a stage where they had to sit in like an ice bath for like however long, and it is basically like freezing yourself and then going and shooting. I don't really see a point in that. That doesn't make any sense to me. I would not do that. I would maybe do something where you have to wade through a creek, but I wouldn't do something where you're just sitting in ice water just to test yourself that way. It's just not realistic. So we're going to try and put you in realistic scenarios. We actually just recently tested out a kind of course of fire that we're working on, which in a lot of ways kind of shows off the elements of what we're trying to do. And it is a pistol course of fire that is very up close and personal with your handgun, and then a pretty good long sprint, like 50-ish yards, to a long range setup. And the cool part about that is there's a target at 500 yards, and there are a bunch of random targets at random distances that are smaller. They're reduced, they're like that big. And the great thing about that is it allows you to sort of, you kind of have to judge distances. You can use math, but you also kind of have to judge the distances that those targets are at. And, you know, if you're using something like 308, you can hit it once and be fine and neutralize it. If you're using 223, you got to hit twice. So those kind of things. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Let me say this about USPSA. The only thing that matters in USPSA is speed and accuracy. Practicality doesn't matter. The gun practicality doesn't matter. Holster practicality doesn't matter. Optic doesn't matter. Magazine, nothing matters, right?
Just a quick word from the editor here. Whenever I say accuracy and speed are the only two things that matter, yes, those are the only two things that matter in shooting in general. And our competition is still going to stress being accurate and being quick. If you're not quick, you're not going to get a quick time. If you're not accurate, you're also not going to get a quick time. So there's that. Also, whenever I talk about these things not being practical, I'm very explicitly calling out and only calling out the kind of weird gimmicky stuff that competition shooters often do. I'm talking about things like the race holsters, basically no retention, holsters whatsoever. I'm talking about, I've heard of people taking the batteries out of their flashlights and loading them up with weights so there's less muzzle climb. I'm talking about getting specific ammo that barely kicks at all and is just enough to keep the gun running. I'm talking about having magnets on belts. I'm talking about the kind of gimmicky stuff that creates a firearm that is only really viable for competition and is not a gun that you are going to carry for any reason. Whether it's, CCW personal protection or whether it's for more like overt or like Second Amendment specific applications. That's what we're trying to target. It's not that we want you to be slower and less accurate. We just want you to be quicker and more accurate with more practical firearms that are going to actually be used for carrying to defend life.
Whatever setup you need to do to get the fastest and most accurate score, that's what you do. So, whereas we want to do like practical shooting, right? Like we want your gear to matter, right? We want you to lay down in the prone because you have to take a shot in the prone and realize, oh, I have too much stuff on my chest. I can't lay down as close to the ground as I want. We want you to have to utilize cover. We want you to utilize a VTEC board. We want you to utilize these different shooting positions. There was some discussion I was having with someone about course design and how to design the course and all that kind of stuff, and smart course design, and he really didn't like it whenever there was only one set path that you could go down. And we're not going to necessarily do that. There's going to be a general thing that you have to follow, right? But we don't want there to just be one path that's the right path, and if you deviate from that, you get penalized. No, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to give you options. So like I mentioned, the VTech board. If the VTech board has 5 different holes in it, we tell you to pick 3. Whatever three you want those to be, you can pick that. And the reason for that is we want you to still have to do the hard thing. Because whenever I've told people that you can either shoot it the easy way or the hard way, people choose the easy way. That's not the goal of our competition. The goal of our competition is to stress yourself, stress your kit, stress your gear, stress your abilities. That's what the point is, right? So is it worthwhile for longer range stuff to have this big metal bipod that you can, set up and get real nice and stable? I don't know, maybe. You're also going to have to run and gun with that thing a lot, and it might be a little bit too heavy. So those are the kind of considerations that we want to make. We'd love to hear you guys' thoughts down below. We've sort of started course design, but we really want to nail the essence of what the competition actually is before we do that course design. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I still have 2.5 hours left of driving, and I got up at 4 o'clock this morning. So we're going to keep on keeping on. I'll see you guys in the next video. And remember, stay armed.